Val, maybe we could start off with a little bit of, can you just actually tell us what Tesla Takedown is? Or is it
Yeah,
take? It's not Takedown Tesla. It's Tesla Takedown.
Tesla Takedown. Yeah, there's a website called teslatakedown.com, which is a website you can go to, get some background on the campaign. And it essentially is a map where anybody in the world can put an action up for targeting Tesla. And so I've been involved in that campaign, and in particular, planning actions in the Seattle area targeting Tesla.
Of course, this is based out of Seattle.
In Tesla Takedown, there's a spirit out there, which had already, as we saw with Luigi Mangione, there's a spirit which is very anti-corporate, very anti-billionaire, very anti sort of elite. And Tesla Takedown is also tapping into some of that spirit as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would say it's just what I've noticed being involved in organizing in the Seattle area for some time, especially after the election and the inauguration. People were like, what do we do? We don't want to just waste our energy protesting for the sake of protesting. And especially in Seattle, and I would say on the West Coast, I'm sure it's true of many places, we're really far from the center of power in government. And I think as it became clear that Elon Musk was taking on this outsized role at the federal level, totally, I would say, criminal role nationally, we're like, oh, wait, like we can target Elon here because his company, the source of the majority of his wealth, has numerous locations in the Seattle area, and ultimately money talks. And we've planned, whether it was troublemakers or partners that we've been working with over the last few weeks, have planned multiple actions at Tesla.
Welcome to Grim Dark America. This is Red Channels, your humble guide on the 2024 Make America Great Again Revenge Tour. Now, before we dive into this issue of leftist terrorists vandalizing Teslas, I will ask you to please give this video a like, smash that like button, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Consider subbing to me on Patreon if you want to monetarily support the channel. And also consider going down into that description section and visiting the website of our first sponsor, Classic Cut Suits. Classic Cut Suits. Have you looking fresh? Have you looking sharp? Have you styling on the vintage fashion community? Holla at your boy, Classic Cut Suits. Anyway, your ears heard right in that last video. That woman who is organizing the Tesla takedown movement was apparently crediting Luigi Mangione as her inspiration. And this situation is made all the more ironic by the fact that that CEO that Luigi went after was woke. This CEO supported so-called gender-affirming care to minors, and it appears his business practices were, in fact, quite insidious and harmful. So, unlike a lot of people on the right, I'm not exactly wringing my hands. This CEO got taken up off this earth. He was definitely not a good guy. But what is disturbing is people's reaction and how so many people seem to really enjoy what happened. You're just reminded of the fact that the social fabric of this country is disintegrating when you see how many people really are celebrating this CEO's death like this. And there's a clear undercurrent of hatred towards any and all right-wing people in this celebration. You see this Luigi guy is real popular on Reddit now. These Redditors love them some Luigi Mangione. These Redditors idolize him, and they get off on the idea of harming right-wing people such as Elon Musk in the same way that Luigi did this CEO. But don't get it twisted. What's going on in this country is not as simple as a right-left issue. Young people generally are disaffected, mistrust this country's institutions, and are more favorable to what Luigi did. I'm part of early Gen Z, and I'm sure some of my older viewers watching right now are probably noticing how I'm not even really bothering to pretend to mourn this CEO guy. A lot of people on the right immediately after this happened were like, oh man, how could Luigi have done this? Blah, blah, blah. This is so awful. And the irony of this is that Luigi was himself probably right wing rather than left wing. He wrote this paper about Nietzsche in college, something else like that. He was not a leftist. he was like right wing in the same way that Ted Kaczynski could be considered right wing. Like he was definitely not some sort of like, you know, campus Marxist, as some people assume he was. But anyway, despite these contradictions, it's really popular on the left right now to celebrate Luigi, and vandalizations of Tesla cars are being seen by them as being in the same vein as Luigi's actions against the CEO. Already there's been a bombing of a Tesla car, a certain individual from a certain community vandalizing Tesla cars, and tons of other different, distinct, independent reports of Teslas being attacked in general.
We have people we're locking up on that. We have someone in jail right now from one of the dealerships. They threw a Molotov cocktail through a dealership. They're looking at up to 20 years in prison. So if you're going to touch a Tesla, go to a dealership, do anything, you better watch out because we're coming after you. Wow. And well, if you're funding this, we're coming after you. We're going to find out who you are.
So, I mean,
I kind of wonder how this is playing out in California, because they do love their Teslas out there, but they're definitely not a guarantee that the person driving it is a right-winger. There are a lot of high-income, white, IT, technocrat type people who drive these things around, and I haven't seen any videos of them going, I'm going to trash my Tesla out of spite because I hate Elon. Probably because a lot of these things still cost an arm and a leg, if we're being honest. But not too long ago, Tesla's brand identity was liberal. Renewable energy, sustainability, reduced reliance on fossil fuels. This shift from left to right, this shift is recent enough that if I were to go out and harass people who support Elon, I definitely wouldn't use them owning a Tesla as a litmus test to determine whether or not a person actually likes him. But Reddit is full of deranged people just looking for a target to hate on. So, you know, their response of spray painting Teslas and vandalizing Teslas indiscriminately isn't exactly surprising. All of these actions, though, all of these attacks are clearly a warning, not only to Elon, but to other elites who may step outside the fold and decide they've had enough with the direction the left is taking this country in. The message is, we will mobilize soy-drinking lunatics to vandalize your property and maybe also assassinate you if you step out of line. You know, personally, to me, it feels like Western civilization is experiencing this big game of chicken, where now you have this mask-off synthesis of like socially progressive neoconservatism versus this anti-immigrant populist backlash. There's more infrastructure like NGOs, government bureaucracies, activists, media, and business elites on one side versus a couple renegade elites and a bunch of people who are pissed off at politics on the other. And it's about to be a death grapple because the establishment, the elite, the swamp is getting desperate.
Tesla just leased this parking lot and brought a lot of Tesla trucks. They started bringing 3 days ago, but look what happened. They vandalized all the cars, all the Tesla trucks. This parking lot has been empty for years. Tesla just leased, and someone did this.
Not another billionaire! We need not another billionaire! Everybody out, bring it out over here. Get out, come on.
Are you alright?
We need clean air, not another billionaire! We need clean air, not another billionaire! We need clean air, not another billionaire! We need clean air, not another
Western elites, being soft managerial elites rather than hard managerial elites that you see in countries like Russia or China, do not like to exercise power through force very overtly. The lack of widespread political violence perpetrated by the state or people aligned with elite interests, or at least the illusion of it, is supposed to be evidence of the stability, legitimacy, and health of ethnically heterogeneous liberal democracies like we live in here in the US and as they are turning Europe into. That's why these protests are mostly peaceful. Western elites are very much into this guided popular sovereignty thing and would rather keep up the illusion that progress is happening. It's the will of the people, and the general public is in control and steering the ship, more or less. Because there's no greater loyalty to the system than a person who's willing to call for a military coup of the executive branch so billions of dollars can continue to keep flowing to Ukraine to fight in the name of so-called democracy. Real freedom is slavery hours over here. Losing the popular vote finally shattered the progressive leftist notion that these people, the left, represent the people generally. Like it put that to bed permanently. So now, people who support or are members of these institutions which make up the establishment are very worried. Their propaganda doesn't work, and now they don't have the numbers to win elections either. So they're going to increasingly go mask off and argue for technocracy with civil rights, and more overtly celebrate violence against their political opponents. And what happens when the illusion of a safe, friendly, clean America, one where rational discourse, sound arguments, and cooler heads always prevail in the so-called free market of ideas, is completely shattered? What are we left with in this country after that?
Bro, are you fucking serious? I literally just got this car 3 days ago. Look at this. Bro, are you... Dude. Bro, that's literally so many... Bro. Bro. Look at this, bro. I literally just got this car a few days... Bro, are you... Oh my gosh, dude. Bro, at work too. Bro. Oh my god. Bro. Literally, why? That's so...
But you know what I find notable? The left did not take Luigi Mangione and turn him into another prolific act of right-wing terror, so-called, that boogeyman they want to convince us is menacing the entire country, even though it's not. They could have done that very easily. Because again, Luigi had this paper on Nietzsche. He apparently had right-wing leanings. But instead, the left appropriated him and turned him into a folk hero. That just seems so cursed to me. The fact that the left is willing to let these ideas spread and proliferate on sites like Reddit is worrying because, again, even though the healthcare industry is an object of leftist frustration, the guy who got iced in this case was a leftist CEO. This CEO was progressive. He was in favor of gender affirming care for kids. It really gives off the vibe that progressive elites are willing to sacrifice one of their own in order to increase zeal among leftist activists and really make them more comfortable with the idea of using violence against their political opponents. And some of you will say, red channels, they were willing to do this already. This isn't news. This isn't anything new. But put your pants back on. If you were willing to go and comment something like that, my point is just that this is escalating. And I'm observing the finer details as to how this whole phenomenon is taking shape. But also, I'll point out the coming years will not be a fun time for elites generally. Not just renegades like Elon or Trump, who the system will overtly threaten, but now we have random acts of political violence becoming the norm because of people like Luigi. Even if you're a progressive elite, you now have to walk around knowing some disgruntled kid might run up on you and split your wig randomly. This is deeply disquieting. Antifa and the BLM protest riots were earlier iterations of whatever the heck this phenomenon is about to be. The larval stage. Now it's breaking through the chrysalis. We have to ask ourselves, what's it going to be like when the mask finally fully comes off and nobody's pretending anymore that conversations, rational discourse, talk between two sides of the political spectrum is even possible anymore. Anyway, we are entering a brave new world, a paradigm shift. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, subscribe, leave a comment. I love to read and respond to your comments. Leave a comment. Even if you hated this video, leave a comment. Say something nasty, say something awful, say something good, say something happy. I will enjoy it. But that is it for this video. Please sub to my Patreon. Consider visiting our first sponsor, Classic Cut Suits, down in the description. And Red Channels will catch you in the next one. And hey, shout out to my main patrons, William, General Jack Ripper, and of course, Tara.